let's get on to Zoom and onto the phone where we have John Awuni, President, Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, Dr. Edward Ackah-Nyamike Jr., President, Hoteliers Association of Ghana, and Joseph Obeng is President, Ghana Union of Traders Association. Gentlemen, once again, good morning. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Let me start off with you, John Awuni. I mean, I have seen the statement released by the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana. Tell us, I mean, how are the taxes impacting and hurting your business?
Basically, let me establish the fact that every country can develop very well through taxation, by taking money from the citizens. The government doesn't manufacture money, the government does not conjure money. So for government to provide the necessary facilities for development, such as good roads, electricity, good water, medicals, education, and all that you can think about, it can only do that through the taxes that it raises from the citizens. So it must be established that taxes are very, very, very important. And we admire the developed world, and most of us travel down there to tour and to also have medical attention, because there are citizens who willingly pay taxes, happily pay taxes, and the leaders use the taxes for the right thing. So that must be well established. But having said that, let me say that clearly.
Yes, I'm listening. Go ahead. Mr.
Let me establish the fact that the taxes are really the level of the strategy of taxation in the country, particularly for the private sector, which is said to be the engine of growth of the country, has not really helped well. The private sector is not doing well. The private sector.
Hello, Mr. Awuni. Well, let me move to Dr. Ackah-Nyamike. Mr. Awuni, we seem to be having a challenge with you. Dr. Edward Ackah-Nyamike, so, I mean, Mr. Awuni has made the point. You need to pay these taxes. Why does it look like, for many of you, you have concerns all the time when you have to pay taxes?
Thank you once again, Winston. And I'm happy with the premise that Mr. Awuni has established, because a right-thinking citizen wouldn't have issues with the payment of taxes. Probably it's how it's been administered, which is the challenge. But from the angle of the Ghana Hoteliers Association, we usually expand the argument to look at statutory payments in general. Because if you isolate only taxes, you are looking at just a small part of the picture. We look at the broader picture of statutory payments. It is when you have looked at all of these statutory payments, some of which I will mention briefly, then you realize that if you discuss only taxes alone without looking at the bigger picture, you are harming private businesses, which is what is going on. Now, Winston, the hotel industry is a heavily regulated one. So we have regulatory payments to the MMDAs in the form of business operating permits. We have something called suitability report. And then we are also regulated by GPA. We pay license fees, Environmental Protection Agency, Ghana National Fire Service, the Food and Drugs Authority, and the Data Protection Commission. Beyond that, we also have the entertainment aspect, which relates to copyright royalty. By law, there's a Copyright Act, and we are enjoined as users of copyright work to also pay something to the copyright management organizations, like the Ghana Music Rights Organization and the Audiovisual Society of Ghana. That's also statutory payment. And then we move on to the property rate. And property rate has become an issue because with the declaration of the property rate payment, it has seen some serious astronomical increase. And that is why it has become a big issue. That is also a statutory payment, which is part of the picture. Then when we get to the taxes you are talking about today, we have a host of them. we have the value-added tax, NHIL, we have the GET fund, and we have the COVID-19 as well. And of course, we also pay 1% to the grant fund. Then we also have the corporate tax on top of all that, and recently the sustainability tax. So that goes with tax. Then we have insurance. We are enjoined to insure our premises. That is statutory payment. You go to pension. We are supposed to contribute 13.5% to staff pension. That is also statutory payment. Okay. Now, when you put all these together and you run the model of input and output, waiting, it is no joke. And that is why we think that every small increase in any tax or any additional tax hurts businesses so much. And when we do that without looking at the big picture, like I've tried to paint here, then we have a serious challenge. And that is why we continue to complain and talk about these taxes, because we should look at the big picture and then we'll get it right.
Let's look at the big picture briefly. So, I mean, based on your analysis, if you put together all these levies and statutory payments and the taxes that you pay, what is that? I mean, how much does it amount to as a cost component of your business?
It will be difficult to tell because, you know, I am the president of the Ghana Hoteliers Association and I represent the operations from the budget, the very simple hotels, to the much bigger upmarket hotels. We have various components when it comes to these businesses. Now, one of the major issues in our work is utility. Of course, those are not taxes, it's based on consumption anyway, but it forms a very big chunk of our business, which goes to about 20%. And then the regulatory fee, you can strike it about 5 to 7%. Then you have the taxes. Again, the taxes are based on the input, because VAT you only charge it when you have a case. But when it comes to the GTA license, regulatory, those ones, whether you have guests or not, you still have to get those.
Okay.
So it's very difficult to tell exactly the component of the revenue that is attributed to these different segments.
Okay.
But I can tell you for a fact that the profit margin of the hotels have dwindled over the years. I mean, for the past 10 years, it has really dwindled, and that is because the cost of operation continues to increase from all these statutory payments.
Great. Can you hold on for me? Let me bring in Joseph Obeng, who is president of the Ghanaian Traders Association. Yes, Joseph Obeng, you heard John Awuni. He's made the point that you all appreciate that these taxes are needed to develop this country. So why are you complaining? I mean, you all want the good roads. You want all the good things that you see outside this country. So why there's all complaint about the taxes are too much, when they're supposed to be helping in the development of the country?
Yeah, taxes are very important, and it will help the growth of the country. And we are all very patriotic citizens. It should not be said that we are not patriotic, and that's what normally is just being made to look like. No, we understand that we have to pay our taxes, but taxes should be affordable. We don't have to be overpriced out of taxation. We don't have to be overburdened of taxation. You see, even when we are doing economics, we are not. Our economy is not in isolation. Our economy is situated among the nations in West Africa, and when they say that our tax to GDP in the sub-region, ours is the lowest. Why is this so? Because the other neighboring countries their taxes are affordable. They are not as many as we are paying here, and that compliance is high. The key to enhancement of revenue is on enhanced compliance, and here we are not looking at that aspect. All that we are doing is to pile up these taxes on just a few recognizable taxpayers who otherwise are growing, that we have to put all these taxes on. And so, yes, taxes are very necessary, but we have to do it in the right way. We have to make taxes simple. We have to make taxes affordable so that it will enhance compliance. That will give us more revenue. And then also we have to be prudent with our expenditure patterns. If we are not prudent with our expenditure, we will pay all the taxes and it will not match up with the GDP that we are talking about. If you raise the expenditure so high, then of course what you are receiving will become negligible for you. So we have to adopt prudence in our expenditure management. And so it's not that we are not doing our best. For the past 5 years, we have been achieving our revenue target and increasing it. And so what is the case here? If we are achieving our revenue patterns and targets, it means that the trading community are not doing badly. The business community are not doing badly. It's either if you want to enhance on your revenue, you expand the tax net so that you do not cripple those who are already paying. It's as simple as that. So we are simply overburdened with these taxes, and if you have to go through the true state of doing business in Ghana now, then you understand what we are talking about. Capital has been depleted by over 50% by the effect of the exchange rate during the last quarter of the year 2022. Our capitals have been depleted. Ghanaian businesses are saddled with numerous taxes because of the IMF program that we entered. We have to contend with high interest rates.
How's that impacting you?
And, hello?
How's that impacting your business?
It's impacting negatively. We are being uncompetitive in the sub-region. Our turnover has been curtailed because the business that we do it in conjunction with our consuming public. Inflation has eaten up the purchasing power of our consumers, and that they are unable to buy much as they used to buy, thereby curtailing our turnover. When turnover goes down, it means that we are unable to service our debts.
But Mr. Obeng,
are collapsing.
You transfer, Mr. Obeng, to be fair, you as a businessman, you transfer these taxes to the consumers. So why are you making it look like you're not transferring it to us? We should be the ones complaining.
No, it's not always the case, because if your consumer is unable to buy the quantities that you used to buy, because ours is not for more profits, ours is turnover. Any business thrives on turnover. So if you make your prices high, or inflation have made your prices high, it's to our disadvantage. It is never to our advantage, because then the consumer is not able to buy the number of products that you used to buy. If say you used to buy 10 products with the same amount of money, this time the same amount of money can only buy about 4. What it means is that your turnover is curtailed and you are unable to service your suppliers and then also pay your debt. So it's never true that when prices, we keep on piling the prices to the consumer is helping. Business does not thrive on that.
Okay.
Business thrives where the consumer is also having the purchasing power to patronize your produce. If prices are extremely high to the fact that they are unable to buy, then what are we doing?
So let me get you clear.
It does not even help the state itself in this quest to enhance on its revenue targets.
Let me get you clearly. You're saying that even though your cost is going up, you're unable to pass on the total cost because of the current economic conditions and the situations within which your consumers find themselves. In effect, you're suggesting that you've had to bear some of the cost, resulting in low turnover, resulting to reduced profit, because you don't want to pass everything on to the consumer. Is that the case?
That's exactly what I'm trying to say, because don't forget that we are in a serious competition, not only in Ghana, but also in competition with our traders or importers in the neighboring countries. You know how even Ghanaians go to Togo and buy goods. They don't buy the goods from Ghanaian importers because our prices have become so high. And then the goods that they go to Togo to buy is not made in Togo goods. They are also imported the same way that we also import. So we are ceding up our business to that of Togo, Nigeria, and elsewhere. And even within Ghana, competition will not allow you to overprice yourself out of competition. In this case, you look up once your capital is dwindling because you cannot even sell at a price that will make you break even. That's exactly what I'm telling you. So the whole situation does not even help businesses. That's why we keep on. Otherwise, why do we say if you pass on all the costs to consumers, why do you continue to say that our businesses are collapsing? Let me tell you, even when it comes to manufacturing sector, where we all admit that we have to produce locally, the oil that is being produced by the edible oil that is being produced in Ghana here cannot be sold because of competition coming from another company that is being produced that is doing production in Togo. But their cost of production is very low, and they send all their goods to Ghana to buy instead of us patronizing the goods that have been manufactured in Ghana. So if the taxes are more, you are not helping the growth of businesses. You are not helping the competitiveness of businesses, and you are destroying the economy at that. And that's what we are saying. That's why we are pushing that we reduce the taxes so that we can also at least become competitive and then do our business where the consuming public will also have the respite and then the ability to also patronize our goods.
Great. I'll get back to you, Joseph Obeng, as president of the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, that's GUTA. We also have the president of the Hoteliers Association of Ghana, Ackah-Nyamike Jr., and John Awuni, who is president of the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana. Let me get to you, John Awuni, as we have this conversation about how the taxes are impacting your business. So you've talked about, you say we need these taxes, but I've seen your press statement. You've complained. You're telling us that but for the taxes you pay, for instance, milk, evaporated milk would be 8 Ghana cedis. Now it's 15.5 Ghana cedis. You've talked about spaghetti. All of these would have been very low but for taxes. So in one instance, you're complaining. In another instance, you're telling us we need them. Could you explain?
No, well, clearly it is true, and we all acknowledge, like I said earlier, that we clearly need money, taxes from the citizens in order to develop. No government can develop without citizens paying the right taxes. But when you get to the situation where you have tax officers sitting at the doorsteps of businesses to collect money, then it defies one of the canons of taxation, which states that the tax must be convenient. And that what it means is that clearly you are reaching unsustainable non-compliance level of your taxation. That's why you have to send your tax officers to sit down at the doorsteps of businesses in order to collect taxes. Every week, literally, the market, the GRA compliance units go out with officers. Sometimes they go out with media personnel from shop to shop, harassing people to collect money. And when it gets to that level, it is not. You are getting to unsustainable levels. So we are saying that clearly, much as like Dr. Obeng has made the whole case, businesses strive on the rate of turnover, not on the profit. If you make 1,000 cedis on one car that you sell, and then you sell only one car in a year, and then you make also 50 cedis on a car, and you can sell thousands of those cars in a year, you make more money than selling one car in a year. Every business thrives on the rate of turnover. But what you observe is that, my brother, for over the years, Ghana has sought to raise the revenue just from very few people and from increased taxes. Look, the VAT started in 1995. We were all part of it. The demonstrations, Kumi Preko, CME Preko, WME Preko, all those ones. It started with 17.5, came down to 10, and today where we are is 15.5%, in addition to many other taxes. We introduced COVID-19 levy 1%. If you may say 1% is negligible, but when you deal with volumes, that is serious. That's the serious amount of money that you are dealing with. Today, COVID doesn't exist, yet the government is still bent on going ahead with that level of taxation. Look, let me make a point that because maybe we do not have enough time, but the taxes are just so numerous that we are not complaining typically as businessmen, but we are complaining as citizens. And the private sector can really not develop.
Hello, John Awuni. Hello, John. Okay, looks like we've lost John Awuni. John Awuni, who is the president of the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana. You also heard from Joseph Obeng, who is president of the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, and Edward Ackah-Nyamike Jr., who is president of the Hoteliers Association. When we return after these messages, we'll continue the conversation. We'll get to, John Awuni, who says he's not speaking as business, but he's speaking as citizens of Ghana, that the taxes are just too much. I still have John Awuni, President, Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, Edward Ackah-Nyamike Jr., President, Hoteliers Association, and Joseph Obeng, President, Ghana Union of Traders Association. Mr. Awuni, yes, conclude on your point before we get to the way forward. I mean, yes, you're making a point before we lost you. Please go ahead. Unmute your microphone. Please unmute your microphone so we can hear you.
I made a point that clearly we are not complaining as just business people. We are complaining as citizens of the nation. If, for instance, Dr. Obeng, whatever business that he does, maybe let me not mention on live TV. But if, for instance, you are selling bread, yes, you can't eat all your bread all the time. You also will need to go and buy kinky. You will need to go and buy cables. If you want to build, you will need to buy cement. So we are consumers as well. So when we come out and we are talking, we just have to be, we are just set as voices of the voiceless, and also as citizens, patriotic citizens, so that together we can see how we can model and run our country for the betterment of the country. We all have understanding, and clearly, no government can achieve any reasonable, sustainable level of development without the private sector doing well. How many people can the government employ? The government is the biggest spender. Yes, they are the biggest spender, but they are not the biggest employer. It's the private sector that employs. And when the private sector is not doing well, then the country tends to be in a serious problem. And what we are seeing is that the private sector is not doing well. That's why we have a whole host of army of unemployed youth. And that's the time bomb the country is sitting on. And so our perspective is that as the government of the day begin to model their fiscal year budget, they must look at modalities, they must look at strategies, they must focus their attention on what they can do to energize the private sector. And we believe that for you to energize the private sector, you need to cut down your taxes. Don't just look at the whole option. In fact, the whole option of increasing taxes. Over the years, they have always said that yes, in fact, let's protect the private, let's protect the countries, let's protect the local industry by increasing taxes. If increment of taxes were the way to protect local industry, then we would have been very self-sufficient in chicken. We would have been self-sufficient in rice. We would have been self-sufficient in all other things that we are dealing with. But yet we are major net importers of major products. So the thing goes beyond increasing taxation up to the point where you can even pay about 100% on a bag of a product or on a box of a product. For instance, if you look at the landing cost of a bag of rice, the landing cost is like 400 cedis. At the end point, if you go to the Medina or Nima or any other market in this country, you will find out that the cost is like 700 cedis for perfumed and for 600 cedis for non-perfumed rice. This is about 100% tax on it. If you go to the hotel industry, hotel sector, you find out that the number of places hotels sell right now in their restaurant has reduced drastically because boys cannot afford plate of chicken, and then of rice and chicken for their girlfriends again. Families are having troubles even taking their families out because you are thinking about how you can pay school fees. So this level of taxation brings a whole host of problems to individuals, to families, to communities. Because look, even as we speak now, the taxation you are talking about increasing taxes for corporate bodies, so we should not complain. The kenke seller has increased his price of kenke to the extent that a young man who wants to eat, have breakfast or lunch for kenke, you can spend only a minimum of 20 cedis. Now we have a whole host of people earning less than 600 cedis a month. And if you are spending 20 cedis on kenke for a meal for 30 days, you are spending 600 cedis. What would you be left to pay for rent? What would you be left to pay to buy water? And what? Water, the minimum you can spend on water right now is 30 cedis. And so if you earn national service allowances, how much? 700 cedis. If you post a national service person to Bunkurugu Yoyo, where he has never been, and he has to survive on his own there with the 700 cedis, how do you expect that national service personnel to survive without extorting money from students? And I have always said that for you to succeed as a government to fight corruption, you must begin to model policies that can engineer lower costs of living. The reason why many people in government institutions have privatized their debts to the extent that you cannot get any file pushed without paying money on it is that people have to adopt survival strategies. School fees is high.
Hold on that level. Let me just coming at this point. Yes, let me just come in at that point, Mr. Awuni. So you are saying, let me just get you clearly. You're saying that the taxes are too much. They're making things difficult for you. And so you want a review downwards of the taxes. Is that what you're asking for?
That is the clear message that we are saying, that there are a couple of taxes that will be removed. And clearly when this current government, without being political, when this current government was in opposition, they said no nation can tax its citizens to prosperity, quote and unquote. They also said that the nuisance taxes were going to be removed. Since when, how many nuisance taxes have been removed since they came in? In the very first budget that the Minister of Finance read, when they came into power, they even addressed certain constituencies in Abosokwa. I said to my friends in Abosokwa, this kind of tax is removed. And there was, people just hailed and there was jubilation. But afterwards, things have turned around. So they themselves acknowledge that.
So which of these taxes do you want removed? Which of the taxes? You say you know the ones that...
COVID-19 must go. The expanded tax net they have put on fruit juices and whatever not must go. They must reduce the import duties and other levies at the port so that they can bring business to the port. Right now we have a whole host of smuggled goods, French label goods in the Ghanaian market. These goods came in through unapproved routes. And when you have underground economies thriving, then the economy is in serious jeopardy. They can remove they can clearly remove the presidential. They have the profit sustainability tax. That's double taxation. Tax on profit before tax. Why? It doesn't, for me, I'm sorry, but it doesn't just make any economic sense. Network charges can be reviewed downwards. Clearly the duties, presidential special levy, it can be removed. Look, Raymond, please, let us be mindful that it is not only central government that is increasing the taxes. As central government increases taxes year by year, the local government level, the municipalities, the regulatory authorities, Food and Drug Standards Authority, EPA, all of them, they are also increasing. And all this goes a long way to better the consumer more. And we are very passionate about it, not because of our businesses, but we are passionate about it because of for us to provide hope for the youth in the future. Clearly, I can say that there is no hope for the youth in the future. And this cannot be just assigned to the current government. But over the years, the Ghanaian government has visited IMF 17 times. So as right now we are talking about IMF, this thing has helped, and we are picking up gains in the economy. It has happened. IMF has never helped any economy to develop. Else, most African countries would have been very developed. So IMF is not our hope. Okay. We must look at how we can encourage our Ghanaian citizens to pay taxes willingly, to pay taxes happily. And we must also show that the tax is being used judiciously, used very well, so that the citizens can be happy. If you have reports where you have people having monies under their beds, it doesn't augur well for Ghanaian citizens to be happy to go and pay taxes, because I will not pay my tax for you to go and put it under your bed.
Great.
Now there's a complete disconnect. And I'm still finding one. I really would like some economists to explain to me, because as they say that inflation is at around 38 or almost 40%, it is beginning to come down. Our basic economics says that inflation is more money chasing fewer goods. Yet the common term in the list of every Ghanaian on the street is that there's no money in the system. Things are hard, there's no money in the system. Now, if things are hard and there's no money in the system, who are the keepers of the money? What money is chasing the fewer goods? What money is excess in the economy that the Bank of Ghana is trying to mop up in order to reduce the inflation? There is a complete disconnect, and we have to come together as citizens of the nation to see together what we can do for our country. I don't need a job. Dr. Obeng doesn't need a job. You don't need it. But the youth, those who are being graduated from the universities, what is their hope for the country in the future?
Please hold on. Please hold on, John Awuni. Yes, hold on.
Can I just make this point?
Go ahead.
We blame the whites and say that slavery. They came and then took captives of African nations and then enslaved us. Today, when you bring a ship and put at the port, the next day you may not find any youth in this country. That must be a major worry to us, and that must be a major worry to our leaders and to all of us. We are under siege by the mass of youth unemployment that is around us, and that must be a major concern. And that's the reason why we are coming to talk. We are not talking about they should reduce taxes so that businesses can make more profit. We are talking about they should reduce taxes so that private sector can thrive well, and they must also cut down their expenditure. Have value for the money that they raise from the taxes, value for the expenses that they make. And so that this country can develop well and we can provide employment for the youth.
Yes, let me bring in Dr. Joseph Obeng in here at this point. Let me bring Joseph Obeng in at this point. Thank you. Please hold on, Mr. John Awuni. So, Joseph Obeng, let's look at it also. John Awuni has made some points. I believe you agree with a lot of the things he said. What would you add by way of what you want done going forward?
Yeah, we have to do the right things. We do not, matters we need, we acknowledge the fact that we are in economic crisis, sort of, and even gone for the IMF. The pressure on business in terms of excessive tax payment does not help the growth and productivity of businesses. It's as simple as that. And that we need productivity to go up. When it happens like that, then it can also consume a lot of, it can also employ a lot of labor, because productivity have gone up, like Mr. Awuni was saying. So when we are making economic policies, we have to put all things on the scale and weigh everything, the effects, the pros and cons, and all that. If you are not doing that, and we say that we need revenue and that we just have to increase without thinking about its effects on productivity, whilst we want to industrialize, we are unable to industrialize because our produce are more expensive than our neighboring countries. Then what have we succeeded in achieving? That we have to make sure that the distribution sector also thrives, because industrialization can never thrive without a vibrant distributing center. That's why sometimes I have problems when people attack the traders and the importers as being the woes of the nation. No, every country depends on trade, and it's trade that makes the country grow. So it's very important that we look, whilst we are thinking about import substitution and all that, we have to make policies that will ensure that we are able to be self-sufficient, especially in the areas that we have comparative advantage. Not all areas we can produce, but the areas that we have comparative advantage, we dwell on those areas, create the necessary environment for them to grow, so that we become self-sufficient. Then we can also think about the import substitution. For now, we have to do them side by side, by not necessarily imposing unnecessary duties and then levies and charges to stifle the growth of businesses.
Okay.
We should also know that we are in competition in the sub-region. You see, the Continental Free Trade Area, we are really behind because of the cost of doing business. We are unable to send our goods to other neighboring countries. Because of what? Because our prices are not competitive. We are buying goods from Kenya, Rwanda, South Africa, Nigeria, and even neighboring Togo, whilst the same is not being said when it comes to Ghana, okay, where the modern edifice of a secretariat is situated here. What are we doing to ourselves? So we need to bring cost of doing business down by reducing the various taxes that have been imposed on us. Definitely we have to do that to give respite to the consuming public as well. John was saying goods, much as we are traders, we are also consumers of other products. If I sell baby diapers, I also have to buy hardware to do my something. Last time I was going to buy pharmaceutical products and medicine, and then the price that was called, and I was thinking, if the person is on retirement, if the person is on, because it was about 2,000, and so most people's salaries is below 2,000. So if you are to buy medicine for 2,000, where are you going to be able to combat your sickness?
Okay.
And so it is not good for all of us. And so, like Awuni said, we are talking not only as traders or importers, but also talking as citizens of this country. So we have to do the right thing, bring down the taxes down, especially if you look at the cascading effect of the VAT. We have to work around that. We have to make sure that we simplify the VAT, make it more affordable, because the cascading effect of the VAT is causing a lot of problems. Until 2021, we were paying flat rate of 3%. And even that government was exceeding its revenue targets. And now we have to contend with about 22% being the standard rate.
Please hold on. Please hold on for me. Kindly hold on. Let me bring in Ackah-Nyamike Jr. Before I get back to you, Joseph Obeng. Dr. Nyamike Jr., so let me get your views on going forward, what you want done. What are the taxes you want removed? What are the levies you want reduced?
Right. Winston, I think a lot has been said in that direction, except to add that, you see, let me give this scenario. Just this past Saturday, my year group, we were planning for a report coming next year, 40 years after leaving St. Augustine. We decided to raise some funds. We agreed on 500,000. And to raise it, what we did was just to divide it by the number of hostings on our platform, which is 100. So we levied everybody 5,000. As to whether they can pay or not, we just levied everybody 5,000. And I get the impression that that is the approach government is using in taxation. We need money. We need money to build roads. We need money to build hospitals. We need money. This is the amount we need. So let's tax citizens. My big question is, what economic models are we using to arrive at the taxes that we are imposing on citizens? Because if you are using the right model, which right economic model, which looks at the big picture, as I mentioned earlier on, I don't think that will be trying as we are doing now, because then we will all appreciate the situation, and of course it also links to the use of the taxes, as we have mentioned. Because the hotel industry, for instance, we tried a lot on good roads. So we cannot say that we will not contribute tax for construction of roads. But when we continue to pay taxes and our roads continue to be in very bad state. Roads to tourism attraction sites continue to be in bad state. We still have issues with some of the health services and all that. Then the question continues to come back. What are our taxes used for? So I think that the main challenge is the economic model that governments are using to arrive at these taxes. And we say, back to this issue of the taxes, it is it's a serious issue. Because when we even go down on our input, we use a number of things. Such as bedding, in the form of mattresses, bedsheets, bedspreads, toiletries, soap, towels, detergents, floor detergents, even mosquito trees, electronics, cutlery, food and beverage. All these items have gone up. So our operational costs have still gone very high. Okay, so when you continue to increase taxes, introduce new taxes, and you don't look at how the taxpayers are able to pay these taxes, then you make a big challenge. And I would not be surprised at the rate at which people are also evading tax or avoiding tax, whichever one is more appropriate. Okay, because businesses will have to survive. And a lot of the hotels have been shut down. Some hotels have been shut down because they were able to cope with all these taxes.
Okay.
So let's come to the drawing table again. Look at the economic models we are using. And then look at also increasing the tax rate. That's one, right from secondary school, we started learning about all this economics. Let's increase the tax rate so that the burden will not be too big on the few. The hotels, for instance, it's very easy to identify and locate them. So we are always under the knife of the GRA demanding all the taxes.
Okay.
Are they looking at how it's impacting our business? So let's look at the two sides. Yes, government needs money, that's fine. But how are those taxes impacting on the businesses for the survival of businesses, which in turn will pay the taxes for the development of the country?
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Ackah-Nyamike Jr., President, Hoteliers Association of Ghana. Thank you, Joseph Obeng, who's President, Ghana Union of Traders Association. And thank you, John Awuni, President, Food and Beverages Association of Ghana. And what they've been saying is that today the taxes that they pay, or the taxes that are charged on the goods that they sell to us, it's actually making it very difficult for them to survive as businesses. They're speaking as citizens because they also consume products. And for them, the most important thing is this. If they were to transfer everything to us, we may not be able to pay. And so they would want government to consider a review downwards of these taxes.